is G2K and Diaspora member Dr. Karen Dunkley, CEO of KND Consulting out of Ohio, USA. Welcome to CEEN TV's Election Watch 2024. I am Kwame Thomas. Gentlemen, welcome. How are you?
I am good, thanks.
So, I take it that you are not anxious, Mr. Townsend, about this local government election.
I'm not sure what is there to be anxious about.
Really? Why would you say that?
Well, when you look at the system, right? I mean, first of all, this election was due from 2020. Local government election is supposed to be due every 4 years. And it is left to the whims and fancies of the governing party to call it as they feel like. And they kick the can down the road. And at their convenience, they are now calling it 3 years later. I mean, to me, it's an indictment.
Is it every 4 years? Is it every 4 years?
It is local government. General elections are due once every 5 years, and local government election is due every 4 years.
Okay, just making it clear.
So to me, it's a contempt that they hold for the people of the country, that they call it in such a willy-nilly fashion. Do you know how many parish councillors have died since 2016 and people were left unrepresented? There should have been by-elections for all those seats. The mayor of Clarendon, right, died years ago. And his division, right, the household division, had no representation. Why? Because they didn't have a by-election. Why? It's not convenient for the government to call one. And I hope the people in those divisions that they had deceased councillors, I hope they teach the governing party a lesson for not holding by-elections to give them representation. I hope those people go out and vote against the governing party that allowed that to happen to them.
So with that said, though, I noticed that the National Democratic Movement, they are not contesting in the local government elections. So you are in effect saying that they should support the opposition. Why not present an alternative?
No, I'm not saying
to
that.
them?
My stance are principled one. I'm saying that
no, what I'm looking
to every
at
action, the economic reaction. And if the government has treated the people with disdain and with contempt, that's a chance for the people to protest in those particular divisions.
But you have not given...
It has nothing to do with the fact that we have decided not to contest the election. We are focusing on the fundamentals that have led to us having this situation. Constitutional reform, we should have fixed election dates, and not dates that are left to the whims and fancies of the Minister of Local Government or the Prime Minister. Those dates will be set, chiseled in stone, and the rule will also include if there is a deceased sitting representative, within 60 days, there should be a by-election. So that being said, if we get the kind of constitutional reform that we need, then what is now happening would not be happening.
So while I appreciate your stance, though, why not present another alternative for people to go to the ballots?
No, the alternative we are preparing for a referendum. Remember, the government had set up a Ministry of Constitutional Affairs, Legal and Constitutional Affairs, and they have set up a Constitutional Reform Committee. And they have announced that they are heading towards a referendum, which should be held within the next year or so. That is what we are preparing for, because we are prepared to take to the people the message to the people to show them a different way of governance. The current Westminster model, which they intend to keep and just tinker with, which will still give the Prime Minister enormous power. A Prime Minister that people don't elect. Under our current system, people only elect councillors and MPs. They don't elect the Senate, which decides on the bills before they become law. And the Prime Minister, the people don't directly elect their Prime Minister. So we are working towards that campaigning for that, to get the people to support that, rather than the redressing and rechristening of the Westminster model and calling it a republic.
In that case, then you're waiting on the bus to move.
Not waiting on the bus. We are preparing. We are preparing the people. We are spending our energy. You see, when you're a smaller political party and you don't have the kind of resources as the traditional parties to run up and down, you have to use your resources towards what is most important. And we believe that the constitutional reform, the referendum, is a more critical thing, because the NDM was launched in 1995 on that platform of reform.
All right.
So we are working towards that.
Don't give us all of that yet. You'll have ample time to let me just bring in
Sure.
Sir Newt in the conversation.
Yes.
Are you of the same opinion that he is?
Definitely. Jamaica is of the same opinion as we see it right now, because people are very antsy about everything that is going on and how things have been thrown down our throats. And I see it as great disregard to the public and to the electorate for not having an election for 4 years with no valid or reasons that should...
What about the pandemic? Because wasn't that one of the reasons? Was it a valid reason?
Well, the pandemic, we had an election in 2020 in the midst of the pandemic. You know what I mean? We had one in September.
Well, that was the start of the pandemic. So, no one was sure what would have happened after that.
We had a lot of friends died by then in 2020 all over the world. And they stopped the pandemic to have an election, which they said that it was unease. And after the elections, we saw a lot of people going into hospitals, a lot of people going, and then there were supposed to be 2 elections that year.
And the election wasn't even due. The general election was not due.
The general election
but the parish council was due.
The parish council was due in 2020.
All right, tell us about your nomination bid now. You are intending to contest for, well, councillor caretaker and not to be division.
Well, we are contesting for the councillor position. I am the local, yes, I am the caretaker. So I'm contesting for the top seat.
Why that constituency? Why that division?
That's where I was born. I went to school there. I grew up there. Left for a little while, but I returned with all intentions to come and take the people interests at heart and progress in terms of growth and development for a town like Anatabe, which is, we only see agriculture production. We only see the prospect for agriculture and fishery as a mainstay in communities like those where we live by the sea and we have a lot of land surrounding us.
But do you think currently that you have what it takes to beat the gentleman that you're going up against? That's Mr. Hugh.
Well, that's a no-brainer. He has been a councillor since 2002, and there is not one legitimate statute that he can say that there is that he have done since 2000. He lost in 2012 to Kevin Golden, and since 2016 he has been the councillor again, and we haven't seen one landmark or nothing to show. And I think also that we have been waiting for so long for an election. And there has been no local government reform in that space, in that period of time, which shows...
In light of what you have said, so we're talking about Mr. Hugh Bryan.
Yes.
So you stated that he was there from 2002.
Yes, that's when he was...
Until 2012.
Yes.
And then he came out, then he came back.
Yes.
He was put back there by the people.
Yes.
In 2016.
Yes.
And he has still been there. So would it be fair, would it be a fair assessment to say that he has not done anything because the fact that he was placed back?
Well, yeah, money make the mayor run, as we all say, and we all know about the by-elections. You know what I mean? So it's nothing that we hide in nowadays because everybody doing it. It's just that everybody out there, and it's who come first and who have the power of spending. And the electorate, if you keep us hungry enough, whatever you give, we're going to catch, because we try, you know what I mean, we catch at a straw to survive these days. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
well, over to you, Mr. Townsend. We'll soon get back to you. So you have been very, very critical of the government. Do you think that this gentleman would have what it takes to unseat the incumbent?
Well, it's hard for me to say. It's the first I'm meeting a gentleman.
Yes.
I believe that local government elections must be about the people in the immediate division. Well, I heard him say that he's from the community. He was born and grown in the area. I think that qualifies it, because the NDM philosophy is that councillors and MPs must live in their constituencies and their divisions respectively. They can't be imported and parachuted from outside. They live in Jacks Hill and representing the people in Portland or St. Mary. So at least he has made a step in the right direction.
Yes.
And I know he has a good MP caretaker in the form of Lauren Ferguson. But other than that, I don't know the gentleman, so I really can't speak.
So we understood that we specified it a while ago. What I want you to do now is to generalize. Do you think that the People's National Party they have what it takes to be successful now, given the fact that it would appear as though the current government, they have more or less things to stand on? So they're coming to the table with things that they can say, all right, here's a checklist, these are the things that we have done, and you're going against someone that, well, many persons are untried, unproven so far. There has been a great shift in leadership as far as the People's National Party is concerned.
Well, here's the deal. First of all, I hardly see much difference between the PNP and JLP in terms of the political culture and the political philosophy. There was a time when you had the party was a socialist party, one was seen as a capitalist party. They're about the same, right? They also believe in garrison politics. They believe in keeping it in Westminster. So there's not much difference between them. However, in terms of potential momentum, the JLP in its second term, what you find is that local government election is always about local issues. Traditionally, the party that runs in the local government election immediately following the general election tends to win. And then now, when that party gets stale in office and the opposition gets momentum, the next local government election, which these guys avoided, would have been sort of seen as a midterm election, a test, a sort of a referendum on the government to see if the people are happy with the direction in which they are going. So I think this election, being delayed by 3 years, going 4 years, I believe it's an opportunity for the PNP to show that the people have fallen out of grace with the governing party. It is for the PNP to lose. If the PNP loses this election, the PNP is going to be in dire strait. If the JLP wins this election, they'll have momentum to call the general election. But if the PNP loses it, because the PNP has everything to lose, the wicked favors them. The wicked favors the PNP, because if you notice the trend across the world, incumbent parties are in trouble, especially when it comes to the COVID, the supply chain issue, and all the inflation and the issues created in economies worldwide by COVID-19. So governments in power, in office, have been under stress.
All right, I'm going to allow you to hold that point. We're going for our first break. You're watching Election Watch. We'll be right back.
The blood of Jesus, the blood of Jesus will never lose its power.
Start your Sundays with Breakthrough Deliverance, Sunday mornings at 8:30 on CEEN TV.
Okay, I'm Bongo Herman, master drummer, singer and percussion player for CEEN TV. Big up yourself. When you look with, don't change your dial. Better get ready, come to rock steady. You've got to do it like CEEN TV. You've got to do it just like CEEN TV.
I'm your host, Colleen, and it is time for
The Gospel Report.
Lord, where would I be without your grace and mercy?
This song's for you.
Today's a new day, but there is no sunshine.
Sing Praises Gospel Report is on CEEN TV, Sunday mornings at 9:30.
I had to let you know.
I love music, so I would never, ever, ever put myself into a box, but ideally I do mostly reggae and dancehall, but I do explore different genres as well.
A Caribbean lifestyle filled with entertainment. Read this. Fridays at 9:30 p.m., 10:30 p.m. EDT on CEEN TV.
Welcome back to the Election Watch 2024. I am Kwame Thomas. Just before we went to the break, you were telling us, well, you were sharing a bit of information. Continue, because I really want to pull something from that so I can get back to Newt.
Right. So as an outsider looking in, and as an outsider, I mean, not from the PNP or JLP camps, just looking at the historical facts that a local government election being held at this time in the life of a governing party in office since 2016 and now in 2024, sorry, in 2020 rather, they won the election in 2020. And now in 2024, 4 years later, this is an opportunity to test the waters. But I was saying it's a bigger test for the PNP because the PNP has gone through 3 leadership changes in that period. Since 2016, Mr. Simpson Miller left, Peter Phillips came, and now Mark Golding is there. This is a test of Mr. Golding's leadership.
Their opportunity.
And if Mr. Golding wins this election, it will catapult him into greater things. If he loses it, the knives in the party could come out. He could have a leadership challenge, and he could lose his position as president.
Right. So
a lot at stake.
Thank you. Your plans. You are in this particular constituency. You're up against Hugh Bryan. There has been a lot of talk. We're talking about roads, we're talking about electricity, we're talking about water. What are your plans currently? What's the plan of action for you?
Well, the plan of action is to bolster agriculture as a mainstay, as we say, and fisheries, because those are the natural resources that we have. And I went to Nakalva Agriculture School in Hanover, and I'm a past student of the College of Agriculture, Science and Education also. So agriculture is always going to be at the forefront of my plans. So empowering the youths, the unattached youths, better word in terms of youths, because we have a lot of that in our communities. And it is now getting to a point where it's, I would want to say, unsavoring to see. It's like, it's just there every day now, and it's normal for you to go out on the road and the guys are just there, and it's like, what's the next step? We want something to do, and there is nothing out there. But so what we do, as I've already started, to create some form of employment at the call center, in Anatabe, I introduced it in terms of the owner. I introduced him to the idea of moving the call center to Anatabe. He did so successfully, and now we're basically housing over 200 people.
So what about some of the relationships that have been forged recently with the Heart Trust? So we're talking about St. Mary's Central.
St. Mary's Southeastern.
So St. Mary's Southeastern.
Yes.
All right. And we have been seeing trusts by the current government to bring in Heart, to bring in all of those. And based on what we have heard on the ground, the primary issues are the roads and the water and the electricity. Now, how do you plan to address those while not forsaking what you have just mentioned a while ago?
Well, it's going to be a collective effort with myself, our party, the opposition as we are now, which we will be owning the parish council, the St. Mary Port Mara Parish Council, come December 27th. February 27th. The roads, we have roads that are well, actually I was late today because I was coming from Long Road, which is 7 miles of public work roads, central government controlled, and they were promised by the present administration one mile out of the 7 miles for boosting their contention for this election now. So I have every plan to work along with whosoever is the member of parliament, but also to push as a representative of the people to make sure that they are being heard and matters addressed as we see them.
And you really think that it's possible, given the fact that there are only 3 divisions or 3 sections, 3 divisions that are currently held by the opposition, People's National Party, correct?
The 3 divisions in the parish or?
In the parish, municipal corporation.
Well, yes. Well, 2 for now because Belfield,
Islington.
Well, Islington is now held by the mayor because we have lost Comrade Dixon in 2022.
So it's 2 now.
So it's 2 now.
And
the people speaks, it's not a matter of it's not only that we will take it in our heads or as we are practicing or as we see it right now. It's also the people. The people are crying. And we see it every day. We see the Prime Minister going around and we see he has been rejected a lot in different sections of the country. And also we have seen we're on the night of last Thursday when the elections were called, the party leader, he was in St. Mary at the time. So we saw that as an indictment on the government and a strong support for St. Mary since he has been there so many times in the past year. And the ground is eaten up and the people are ready to go. And I think PNP, the resurgence is there, and you know what I mean?
So based on what we have seen, I've had the pleasure of having a conversation with veteran pollster Dan Anderson, and he has stated that up until 2022, most of the polls, or all the polls that have been conducted, they were showing the government's party being further ahead.
Yes.
And now, since 2023, between 3 and 5 polls that have been conducted, they are showing almost neck and neck. So they are well within the margin of error now.
Yes.
All right. I want you to take a look at this bite and give me your assessment of it.
Okay.
And in none of those 7 national polls that we did was the People's National Party anywhere near with an opportunity to win any election that was called after the 2016 election, right? But since the beginning of 2023, we have done about 3 or 4 national polls, and those have had the PNP either neck and neck or marginally ahead. The People's National Party are probably anxious. I don't know how prepared they are, but they're probably anxious to see the local government elections called because of the polls that have suggested that they are ahead. So both are very keyed up in terms of this particular election. And I dare say that depending on how the elections go, the local government elections go when they're held this month, we could see an early election.
All right. What are your thoughts on his assessment?
My thoughts are the same. We're seeing the same things, but not he has the logistics to prove whatever we are saying. And I think the country is warming up to Comrade Leader Mark Golan, and also the candidates we have been trained, and we have been going through rigorous training. We have been dealing with our constituents one-on-one, and we have been reassuring them of what PNP administration is versus what the current government shows and what is happening now on the ground. And we are getting the feedbacks that supports what we are saying over the years about the government.
All right. Sir Townsend, what's your assessment?
Well, they say all politics is local, and local government election is even more local because it has to do with what is happening with the people's roads, water, and all those community-based issues. And I believe the polls are showing momentum for one or the other. I think it comes down to what happens on the ground on the day. And I believe if the candidates are liked by the people, if they are working with the people, and they have the support of the people, I believe that election night could be a very interesting night. It's interesting that it seemed to be a toss-up based on what the pollster has just said, that one was leading, one has now either tied or slightly ahead. It's quite iffy, but all I know is that some careers are going to be on the line. There's a lot at stake. If the JLP wins Mr. Golding, as I said, would be in trouble. If the JLP loses this parish council election, they'll still have they still control Parliament and Jamaica House. So they have that option to get things right before they call the general elections. But the PNP cannot afford to lose this election. The PNP cannot afford to lose this local government election.
All right, but one of the things that stood out for me was, and basically you have both said it, the fact that we're now well within the margin of error. So I'm not sure if it's a case whereby you're overly confident or it's just a case whereby this is what you ought to say because it's election or because you're coming up to a local government election. So that's one of the reasons why we're probing this way. Okay. But why no, though? We're looking at the fact that you are behind in terms of, well, you're in a minority based on the number of seats that you have had. You just stated that we're down to 2 now, and we are not so sure of the PNP's mechanism or the machinery rather, and it would appear as though you're trying to give the assurance that you are ready, but we're still trying to understand how ready are you for this, because at the end of the day, the impression that is given is that once this local government election is called, we're expecting to get something about the general election soon. Isn't that your assessment?
Depends on
who wins.
Yes.
Because the general election is due another year. Another 13 months away.
Yes.
So it depends. Remember, under the current Westminster model, the Prime Minister calls it whenever he feels like. So he wouldn't have to call it now. Probably if he wins convincingly no, he may see a window and he may decide to call it. But I doubt that very much that they're going to do that.
So, all right. So let's move from that section now, because we're just trying to understand. So moving further afield, outside of that particular division, we're hearing similar statements being made right across the board of the fact that one party is losing on ground. Do you think, based on what you have seen, Sir Townsend, that the government has done so poor a job that it's far easier or far more likely that they will lose, based on how we started the conversation earlier?
Well, as I said before...
Or it's just that you're hoping?
As I said earlier on, well, hoping for what? Because I have no hopes for the PNP nor the JLP, really. Because they're taking away most of the hope of Jamaican people.
Couldn't it be a case whereby the enemy of my enemy is my friend? So right now you are pretty much interested in seeing... So it's not a matter of the PNP winning, but it's more so the JLP losing, pretty much because you don't have any physical skin in the game, meaning that your party is not necessarily represented now.
Well, I believe a victory for the PNP will shake up the government, which they need, because complacency isn't a good thing. But just to go back to something he said earlier on, did he say he was now down by 2 councillors in his parish?
We're down to 2.
We're down to 2.
Why are you down to 2? Why are you down to 2?
Because of the same reason we lost a councillor.
When you say lost, you mean he lost his seat in the election?
No, lost his life. He died.
Right.
So the same thing that you were saying earlier, that we don't get a by-election.
And the people have not had a chance with representation.
Not a chance.
It goes to show you the system is unfair, but because the people are left unrepresented. And can you imagine if the parish council seats were, say, closer in margin, the death of councillors could cause another party to become minority. There should be by-election. That is why it highlights the fact, again, the reform we needed. But not to digress on the point that you are making, I believe that certainly it is said, if you go by what the analysts are saying in terms of the economy being one of the best in the world, our economy, the government is not going for it. We have to admit that in terms of the macroeconomics, if you listen to what the World Bank and the IMF and those people are saying, we are looking good. This is the first time we have had a continuity in this country wherein one government started on a particular trajectory in terms of the economic policies, and the other one continues it. So we have seen 3 cycles where the Bruce Gold administration and Audley Shaw started in a particular direction with the IMF. Peter Phillips and Portia Simpson continued it, and Andrew Ollis and Nigel, what's his name again? Clark, continued it. And we have had the macroeconomic stability, which is one of the things that the government is bragging about they have going for it. We have new highways opening. So it would be unfair of me to say that there are not positive things happening in the country. But crime on the other hand is killing us off. You know, there are a lot of issues that are
But admittedly,
there.
the crime has been going down, hasn't it been? Because this year, last year was lower than the year before. So
not so
we
sure
can
of
say
that.
that you're headed in the right direction. There's a 5% reduction.
5% is not much. Our crime rate is just still way too high.
Admittedly, for any administration, that is way too high. But
Yeah.
you have to admit that it's going down.
Well, I don't know if I can admit that, you know, because it's too early to say. The year
No,
has
man,
just started.
the fact is there that there has been a reduction. So, you know, you don't want to admit the fact.
Well, like I say, it's too early to say.
It's too early to say.
We just come out of a year in which so many people lost their lives. For a little island, for us to rank among the top 3 most murderous countries in the world, and to say we get a 5% reduction, nothing to crow and brag about.
No, man, I don't think it's anything to brag about.
We need to set the bar higher.
Yeah,
But
what the
final
number,
comments are
what the
going to the
number
rate.
is?
Well, it's a little over 1,390
Okay, how many
plus.
days we have gone in the year?
Well, no, for this year, we have had the last stat that we look at was a little over 60, over 61 deaths since the start of the year.
In less than 60
and
days.
Less than 60.
Last year it was over 80 for the corresponding period. So there has been some reduction. Admittedly, I guess you want to say something else.
Well, I'm not going to say much more about that because everything is evident, you know. I mean, and the type of death now, 2 weeks ago, a cop got shot on Balmoral Drive. The lawyer lost her life on Washington Boulevard out there. So the type of death, it's getting evil. It's like nobody is safe anymore. So the people that were revered once upon a time, that's no longer happening.
But can the People's National Party actually reduce crime?
We can try. And we have done, we can definitely try. Because
I'll leave it to Mr. Townsend on that one. They can try.
Yes, we
what do
can
you say
try.
about that?
Because saying that you can control it, that would be weird, or it would be an awkward statement for anybody to sit in opposition and say that you're going to change it. But what we definitely do with different strategies, I know definitely the outcome can be different, and how we outreach and how we use the military and the constabulary.
All right, thank you very much, Newt Barkley,
Yes.
for joining us. We take our second break. You're watching Election Watch 2024 on CEEN TV.
There'll be no more dying, no more crying, no more sickness, no more pain, no more sadness, no more sorrow, no more trouble, no more tragedy, no more temptation, no more fighting, no more, because I don't know what you're going to do when you see Jesus. But when I see Jesus.
Join us on Saturdays for Breath of Life, 7 a.m., 8 a.m. ECT on CEEN TV.
Now check it out. You know, this is Christopher Martin and you're in tune to CEEN TV. CEEN, don't you know the ghetto me born and raised. Life to me lemon and I made lemonade. Life is the most expensive thing, I tell you. Keep it locked. CEEN TV.
If you missed coverage of Barbados Sailing Week 2024, catch the highlight show on Wednesday, February 7 on CEEN TV, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Caribbean Time, 6:30 in Jamaica.
This week on Cameo, we explore Jamaican ceramics.
If you're a fashion-forward music lover who is on point with the latest technology,
The Extra Parliament is a smart billfold wallet.
well, get the release. We'll keep you on the beat with the culture, artist features, interviews.
We tour the whole of Europe, whole of UK, we tour America.
Catch the release this and every Saturday at 7:30 p.m., 8:30 EDT on CEEN TV.
Join the growing number of CEEN subscribers and keep in touch with everything from the Caribbean, including the ISA schoolboy football season, exclusive from Jamaica. Call your cable operator and ask for CEEN TV via Optimum in the Northeast US market and Bell & Rogers in Canada, or come straight to the source at www.ceen.tv and pay $4.99 a month. Be at home away from home. Subscribe today.
There'll be no more dying, no more crying, no more sickness, no more pain, no more sadness, no more sorrow, no more trouble, no more tragedy, no more temptation, no more fighting, no more, because I don't know what you're gonna do when you see Jesus. But when I see Jesus.
Join us on Saturdays for Breath of Life, 7 a.m., 8 a.m. ECT on CEEN TV.
You gotta teach me that one. Hey.
All right, next. I always dance on footies. Are watching Cooking with Love. Keep it locked.
You will see today we're going to be doing the full works.
Well, I'm very excited. This sounds like an amazing chill spot, so let's get to it.
Looking forward to it too. You have to make it a point of duty to set some time for yourself, even if it is once a month, to pamper yourself.
Get cozy. The chill spot is always here on Fridays at 7 p.m. only on CEEN TV.
Hi guys, I'm Natasha DeBoul, aka the Classy Chef, and welcome to my demonstration. If you can eat a lot of spice, I could give it a pot, you know.
This is really good, Natasha. Very nice.
Since we have demonstration, right? For next season, we're gonna have demonstration.
Can't forget it, Dad.
So join me as we go into the kitchen, helping frustrated moms.
The Maestro.
Right now, when the lights and the camera and the action start, battlefield.
Go, 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 go!
Them boys, they're not good like me. You see me, I say?
Because I can feel the energy of the other guys.
And I'm taking it to them.
You missed the rehearsal, my G. So look out, Pete, no? Maestro, what I done.
The new, revolutionary, and not to be missed TV show, The Maestro.
For the past 5 years, Neville Charlton has been spearheading his Give Back initiative, Youths Inspiring Positive Change, popularly known as the Positive Organization.
I started doing more volunteering because I have a genuine passion for making people smile. Yes, I love, like literally, I just love people. I love seeing when you go in that community, to go to that old age home, you go to a school, and to just see the smile on their faces. And it's not just about going, as I always mention, it's about making an impact.
Caring Hands, this and every Monday at 7 on CEEN TV.
Sister, welcome. We've missed this boat. Let's not miss the next one.
It's been revealed. The Sportsmet Zone is the #1 show on Caribbean television.
Are we supposed to assume that this was an accidental leak?
No, Faz, but here's the thing. It's riveting.
Just lock it down then. If we're not going to do this, let's just lock it down. What is the point?
Do you think he's the favorite to retain his home?
It's bold.
Definitely the best club in the world, hands down.
In the world?
You know, that's not even a question.
My heart is still in Trinidad, but my thoughts could be abroad.
And it's a whole lot of fun.
Let's just keep the conversation over here for teams that got out of the group, you know?
Yeah.
This guy you see here, he's an idiot.
This time I'm going to take it to them.
Jamaica my thing day. Is that how y'all know? How you say it?
Jamaica my thing.
This time I'm going to take it to them.
Join us weekdays 4:30 p.m. Jamaica time, 5:30 p.m. ECT on Sportsmet.
and win the local government election, meaning, hold most of the councils. They could do okay, and it's pretty even stuff, as the polls are indicating now. But I want to make the point, as a political pollster, polls don't win elections. Elections are won on the election day. It's the party that has the best machinery, has communicated the best message, who has done the best work getting the people out. That's the party that's going to win the election. Okay. So the other scenario is that JLP doesn't do well, or they do very well in the local government election. If they do very well in the local government election, it will be an indicator to them. We're in a good position. Maybe we shouldn't delay
for too long.
Because we have a year plus. Who knows what could happen in a year plus? So I believe, again, just to state that if the JLP does well in the local government elections, I think you could anticipate a fairly short period between now and the general election, which would give them another 5 years in office.
You're mad, man. I don't vote, man. They never do nothing for me. Over years, the government, I don't see what they do. And me have to work and struggle and hustle and throw partner seat there. And there's some 9 to 5 there. And if vote, I vote for the Syrian and the Indian and them people. Government not do nothing for me. I don't know how government money look.
Yeah, this election we have to deal with it and we are run with it like that. Because of the best we see. Because what is the only government can campaign after achievement. No other government, me never see me a 60-year-old and never see that yet. Francis Michael Manley in a film time pass and gone. Nobody follow him. Me used to vote for PNP all my time. Now a Labour right to do it.
I not vote because them not do nothing productive to the country. So I don't see no reason for vote. Everybody have a right for vote. Yes, but my opinion, I not vote. I don't know vote for. There's nothing doing. Them not doing nothing.
As a Jamaican, we all have the right to exercise. So I am doing the right thing. I will vote because I am a worker. I will not say which party or whatever color clothes and all of that, but I will vote. I'm exercising my right.
Because them not really do nothing for the country, so it makes sense to vote. And certain poor people, them not help them out. So that's why we're out here, I do what we do. And it don't make sense to vote for them, because when you vote for them, them are going to get the benefit. The poor people, them not going to get nothing at all. Them only are going to give them promises and them something there, so it don't make sense.
I hate Jamaica working industry. Like, they don't employ good people that would actually do more for the company, do more for the country, because I love my country and I go to other countries and I do very well. People appreciate me. I'm very outspoken, I'm very outstanding. Yes, and I can do whatever I put my mind to.
I will be voting because I need Andrew to continue the work that he's doing. Like helping the poor people and give them the house to my head and build back the country.
So, gentlemen, we have had quite a mouthful, and let's start with the veteran pollster, Dan Anderson. He has made some statements there, and he ended by saying that all that we have to pay attention at the end of the day is just that the fact that elections are won on the day. But before we start to talk about that, we just want to remind you that you're watching Election Watch 2024 on CEEN TV. We're live on all our social media platforms right now. I'm speaking with Mr. Peter Townsend, President of the National Democratic Movement, as well as Mr. Shane Carr, the President of the JLP's G2K. And also online, we will be connecting with Dr. Karen Dunkley. She is the CEO of KND Consultants out of Ohio, USA. Gentlemen, you have heard the comment. What do you have to say about what has been said just now?
All right, you mentioned that. Let's start with the comment by Mr. Anderson. As you know, polls give a picture of a particular time. Don Anderson mentioned that elections are won on the day. While I agree with that to some extent, the mind of persons tend to be prepared before that. And one of the persons in a Vox Pop stated that this is probably the only government he has seen in his 60 years that really and truly is going into an election and can campaign on achievements.
Remember, let's contextualize what he said. That person said that in all his 60 years, the only person that he has seen to be able to make that statement before now would have been Michael Manley, but since him, no one else has been able to do that until now.
Right.
Yeah.
So going into this election, this government, this JLP government, is able to do that. G2K's role, as you know, is going around and doing assessment and probably reporting back to the party, and that is one of the things that Jamaicans are aware of. Jamaicans are aware of the achievements that are being done. And if I should just contextualize everything that you played earlier in terms of the positives and the negatives, Jamaicans realize the achievements and the steps that have been made. And come with those achievements sometimes are some downsides. For example, and I'll give you one example. When a road is being fixed and developments are happening, you have complaints of dust, nuisance, etc. I mean, it's like any relationship. You know, a relationship is good, but you do have the downsides to it. I'm just summarizing everything that I've heard you play thus far. And so all of that leading up, and Don Anderson's point of election being won on that day, it's something that Jamaicans have realized over the years. So you can be campaigning, you can be talking about achievements if your machinery is not well oiled for election day and getting out the voters. That's all it's going to be, a campaign.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Townsend, you think that the Vox Pop especially, was that a good temperature gauge for you? You have heard what they have said. What is it about it that stood out for you?
Well, it's not surprising. I mean, as somebody who lives in this country, I can sense and feel the level of apathy that is out there, especially among young people. You know, they have stopped teaching civics in school. And so people, the level of civic mindedness and the responsibility that people take in terms of their role in the life of a country's governance has not been there. But the two political parties have to accept the responsibility for that, because they're the ones who phase civics out. They're the ones who use money to buy votes and trivialize the politics for people to develop this dependency syndrome on money as motivation to vote. And all those things put in the mix complicates it in terms of what the polls are saying. Because remember, the polls are showing that things are close and it can go in either direction. The PNP has a momentum. However, what happens on the day? Earlier on in the program, I said that all the politics are local. Depends on how people like their councillor, caretaker, or their councillor, sitting councillors. That could determine it. But, although it's contradictory, the national leadership of the parties also can sway the people. Because remember, as I also said earlier on, in this Westminster model, we don't vote directly for our Prime Minister. The Prime Minister become a proxy. So people may use this past council election as a proxy vote in voting for the top of the ticket between the two governing parties.
All right. Let me just take this opportunity to welcome to the discussion Dr. Karen Dunkley. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Thank you. Greetings and salutations to you and your listeners. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So, gentlemen, here we have Dr. Karen Dunkley. She is one of our Diaspora voices, a very outstanding Jamaican who is abroad. And I want to get a feel of you. What are your expectations of the members of the political party as we're about to head into the local government election?
I think our expectations, and again, really compelling conversation. I've been listening since you started your election watch and the conversation. And we've heard what we know is a common theme about visible government that does not disappear post-elections, after elections. We want consistent government. We've heard some of the issues such as electricity, roads, and water. What I would like to say is just to extend some of those issues around, for example, governance issues. Specifically, let's speak to how do we really account for the budgets that exist at the local level? And similar to what the members of parliament have, for the constituency development funds, we need, what we should have are divisional plans, where each division, we have a plan that aligns exactly to what the constituency development funds and the member of parliaments are doing. So when we talk about expectations, we tend to narrow it down to the electricity, the roads, and the water. But I think that there are broader governance issues. There is this community, and I'm hearing this apathy theme. We need to get the communities involved through community councils. I think it is really time for people power. And people power can only happen if we decide and we empower the people themselves. So whether or not that person who they elect to represent them, if that person is not consistent or that person is not accountable, then that people power will ensure that the next election cycle, they issue a mandate and they issue a job performance review on that elected official.
All right, over to you, Mr. Carr. You have stated earlier that the Jamaica Labour Party is now campaigning on achievements.
Right.
In response to what Dr. Dunkley has just said, what are some of the achievements of the Jamaica Labour Party that you wish to expound?
All right, so I'll just go back to when we took over local government, because I have to give you and let me just address a point that was made by Doctor. I do agree with her that accountability is important. I do agree with her that accounting for the funds that we spend, whether local or central, must be a part of the process. She mentioned the Constituency Development Fund. And one of the things I am pleased with as a young professional is that the process that the CDF now takes is that over a period of time, each division, each constituency is being audited by the CDF. The CDF going to these constituencies and whatever is being reported is being audited by the CDF. And that is something, I mean, as an auditor, being my profession, that is something I'm very pleased with. How taxpayers' money is spent is very important. And that is one of the things that I also see as an achievement by the government. Now, when we took over the local government, I'll give you an example, we were $11 billion in debt as it relates to street lighting. Jamaicans were complaining. She just mentioned that electricity is an issue. Now, in order for you to fix the problems, you can't take a Band-Aid approach. And one of the things I like about what the government has done is to deal with the cause of these problems.
All right, is it that because you haven't started to answer her question yet, you know?
I'm answering yours. You've asked the question.
And based on what I have asked, though, in line, what are the achievements that you have that you can say explicitly that the Jamaica Labour Party can now stand on, especially in light of what she has asked of us?
Well, systems are in place now for accountability. We have the Integrity Commission. We have that of the CDF where we talk about accountability. Now, is there room for strengthening? Of course, because this is going to be a process. It is going to take all of the stakeholders to fall in line. It cannot be where the CDF has these strong standards, but the MPs are not falling in line. So every stakeholder, and it will take time. Because what Jamaica, and you have to face, Jamaica it's a cultural shift that we have to do. Now the government can put in place policies, which I give commendations to Dr. Nigel Clark. That is one of the key areas in which he has been focusing on since he took over that ministry, in terms of accountability in all of these different areas, especially local government. And so that, to me, is probably the biggest achievement in putting in place these processes. Now you have the infrastructural achievements where infirmaries are being, and I'm sticking to local government, infirmaries are being refurbished and built. We have where more new fire stations are built. And even the spending of these funds in doing these infrastructural work, the constant auditing by the Integrity Commission, I see that as one of the biggest. Jamaica, and let's be frank, over the years it has been, and my colleague here mentioned it, that over the years, governance has been an issue.
So in light of the fact that you have said that governance has been an issue, do you think that the Integrity Commission especially they have sufficient autonomy to do what they need to do, and things are being done in a matter that appears to be just and efficient and effective?
So the structure of the Integrity Commission, when it was implemented, the structure of the Integrity Commission was set up to align with the issues that we had at the time. Now, there are issues that have been arising over the previous times where how the Integrity Commission go about maybe reporting, etc. may have been an issue not only for politicians but for the common man out there, where you have to, while reporting on issues, you also have to remember that, listen, while you're a public servant, yes, you have to also protect the reputation of persons. If you don't have proper evidence, do your investigations, do your assessment, and then report. And personally, that was an issue of mine as well.
Sir Townsend, what are your thoughts on what Mr. Carr has just said regarding the IC?
To be honest with you, I don't know a lot about the Integrity Commission, except for the controversies that have been in lately. There is a lot of questions that need to be answered about. Even this, I mean, the principle of the Integrity Commission is good, but I'm not quite so sure as to how effective they are. Yeah. For example, they'll release a report making some halfway allegation, then it stops there. It hangs in the air. It is said that there's a gag order, they can't speak on it. But I'm not sure if they are going or coming. They have recently mentioned that there are 6 parliamentarians who have gotten rich by illicit means, but they can't name them. So it's left hanging in the air over all 63 members of parliament. They have said that the Prime Minister said that he has submitted his report, annual report, but yet they haven't approved it, and they can't say if there's anything wrong with it. So I'm not quite sure how much the IC has helped the whole matter of governance and transparency. Yes, they will sound the alarm, but when you sound the alarm and now people want to know what is the fire behind the smoke, you can't see. You're not getting no answers. So I'm not quite sure how much confidence I have in the IC.
All right, thank you very much. So we're now going to another break, and when we return on Election Watch 2024, you'll get an opportunity to hear from those on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and all our social media. Continue to watch. We'll be right back.
You will see today we're going to be doing the full works.
Well, I'm very excited. This sounds like an amazing chill spot, so let's get to it.
Looking forward to it too. You have to make it a point of duty to set some time for yourself, even if it is once a month, to pamper yourself.
Get cozy. The chill spot is always here on Fridays at 7 p.m. only on CEEN TV.
It's the Bob Marley 79th birthday celebrations, and you are invited to be a part of it. All roads will lead to Emancipation Park, Tuesday, February 6th, Bob Marley Day, for a musical tribute to Bob with some of reggae's biggest ambassadors: Luciano, Warrior King, Munga Honorable, Jamil, Nadine Sutherland, Christopher Ellis, Slash, Esco Levi, Sugar, Jafabio from Mexico, David Carroll from France, and the mystic revelations of Rastafari. That's a musical tribute to Bob. Emancipation Park, Bob Marley Day, Tuesday, February 6, 7 p.m. Come on out in your numbers to salute the king of reggae. It will be a natural mystic live.
Welcome back to Election Watch 2024. I'm Kwame Thomas. Just before the break, we stated that we would have been hearing from those folks on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. So a few questions that come up. One of them that just jumped out is, what innovation can either party contribute to the young people's skills and community development? that's something that was coming to us from YouTube. And I want to throw that to you right now, and then we'll throw back to Dr. Dunkley so that she can have an input on that as well.
All right, so the government has thus far would have started that innovation approach and through HEART. If you realize what HEART was 5, 6 to 10 years ago, HEART is not the same now. You find where we are now allowing, one of the issues that was among young people is that they cannot afford some of these programs. Programs were available. Innovative programs were available. Programs that are relevant to where the world is going now were available. But one of the main issues was affordability, accessibility. And one of the things that the government have now done is for persons to be able to go to HEART and access these programs up to an associate degree free of cost. Not only that, but that is addressing affordability. Accessibility is that they're now considering into going into the different communities. Because the fact of the matter is, you do have persons who are saying, you know, we can't even find fare to go to where the locations are. So the government is now, through the Ministry of Education, along with HEART, of course, addressing that issue. So you will find now where you'll have HEART being placed in training centers or training location being placed in different communities for accessibility.
All right, Dr. Dunkley, can you say also, in addition to what I've asked the G2K president here, what are some of the innovations that either party can come with to help to advance the young people in our country?
The first innovation, and innovation where it has to be, because the fact is that we do not know the jobs that our young people will have in the next 5, 10, 15 years. When I was a high school principal, if someone had said to me, Kwame, that your students can be millionaires making an app or having a gold rush on the internet, it would have been almost incredible. But here we are. And I think that the next innovation that we can do is ensure that our young people are literate, not just in the 3 R's as we know, reading, writing, and arithmetic, but in problem solving, in terms of accessing technology, and not just being consumers of technology, but producing technology, conflict resolution, really thinking across the different economies, the orange economy with the film industry. I look at what is happening in Nigeria with Nollywood just taking over Netflix and in Bollywood, and just even online where they are making and producing. So the orange economy is tremendous. Community tourism is tremendous. The blue economy in terms of what's happening in maritime and the ocean is an absolute opportunity. And then the green economy, sustainable development that preserves the economy. So we can go into our communities and we should look at the pipelines that exist. The youth there who may not know how to read and write, but to take them, they can code, give them a skill that they can access these different economies and they can even become producers. What we're finding is that many individuals who have not thrived in these traditional academic environments do well in these spaces of innovation and technology. It is no longer sufficient to equip our young people with skills that continue to, unfortunately, lead to an underdeveloped employment where they could barely lift themselves and their families out of poverty. And I think we have an amazing opportunity, and the time is now. And I think we need to get away from the same old. Innovation requires bold and radical thinking. We could take 10 or 5. I had the opportunity the other day to host, Kwame, a session with Project Star by the private sector organization of Jamaica with Mr. Keith, Duncan, Kalando, and Safri. And they were just showing how they have identified certain communities and they're targeting resources. So we need now to say to Google that out of Eldersley St. Elizabeth, we have 10 aspiring individuals who could run your back office for Google from Jamaica. That is where we need to get to. They're guaranteed jobs, they're guaranteed an income. When people are building websites, we should have websites coming out of Jamaica. We should have our graphic designers coming out of Jamaica, or coders coming out of Jamaica. And this is the new frontier where COVID, if it has taught us nothing else, is how to leverage the digital economy to engage and participate in the global economy. And just to amplify I know that this is a larger governance issue and it's outside or an extension of the innovation question. We need to innovate our governance system. As we're thinking about greater constitutional reform, we need to think about the direct election of mayors. And we need to extrapolate how mayors are elected and how they're situated outside of the larger electoral process from the old Westminster system as well.
There you have it, food for thought. As far though as the local government elections are concerned, no, would you be able to predict a clean sweep for the Jamaica Labour Party?
That is our intention.
Are there any trouble seats that you are supposed to, well, we're supposed to be watching? What are those?
So they're always what we usually call in Jamaica marginal seats, or in some areas we call them swing seats. These are areas, and if you realize, there are some areas that the JLP won the last election, which really and true, both local and central, that really and truly persons would have thought that that was a PNP seat. And so these are areas that we have to be very strategic about, and how I wouldn't want to go in specifics for
no, but we want you to get into the specifics. That's why we want to get into specifics.
In terms of identifying some of the seats. Well, there are some divisions, for example, in Westmoreland. And I'll just stick to Westmoreland. Westmoreland at one point was fully orange. Now, when you look at Westmoreland since the last election...
Polka dot orange and green?
Right, and not only that, the movement since then, where you have PNP councillors crossing the floor, you know, and so these are seats that we want to be very strategic in how we have our approach. It's not a one-shoe fit all across the divisions.
So then, in light of the fact that you have stated that we're talking about MPs or persons crossing the floor now, are you in a position to say that, for example, Venetia, the recent acquisition, I guess, of Venetia Phillips, you think that she's now in a position to bring home the division for which she'll be representing, or Papine division for which she'll be representing?
I strongly believe she will. And this is as G2K, where we've done our assessment on the ground. We've been around.
You have done, or you are doing?
No, we have done our assessment. If you follow our pages, you realize that almost every evening, every weekend, we are somewhere. And we just don't go on the ground and you know, run up and down. We do our assessment. No, Venetia, how Venetia have served, even being a part of the other side, Venetia's way of service was a no-color way of service. Whether you are JLP or PNP, she would have served that party well then.
All right, so it has been stated, Mark Golin has stated that the PNP, the People's National Party, has actually forced the Jamaica Labour Party to call the local government election. Is there any truth to that?
Well, I tend not to too much, and based on a series of statements that Mark Golin would have made, I tend not to take Mark Golin too seriously. The election was constitutionally due. The election was constitutionally due.
It's overdue.
No, I mean, but this would have been the last time for it. So it is constitutionally due by the end of February. And the government called the election. Over the past couple of years, based on the utterances of elections, you would have thought that the PNP was the one who called the elections. But no, they did not force the JLP into calling the election.
All right, let me just take this opportunity to swing now to Dr. Dunkley. Question to you, Dr. Dunkley. Do you think that from where you sit, that either political party, or more importantly, the government of Jamaica has been engaging the diaspora sufficiently?
I think, so there are two sides to that, and we have to quantify and qualify what we mean by engagement. So I think that we've had certain mechanisms in place for the government, and by government, you're speaking either side, right, to engage and hear from the diaspora what is happening. I served as the Northeast representative on the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, and that is one of the many mechanisms in addition to the various diaspora organizations that exist across the globe. You use the term sufficiently, and so it depends on where you touch the diaspora, as you know, and I know, Kwame, that certainly we have spoken about it, that there are some members in the diaspora who are asking for a deeper level of engagement. And what that looks like for them in terms of participation in government really is very constitutional, right? And so every time I'm on a forum, I often hear about, can diasporans vote? And the fact of the matter is that that requires a change in the Constitution in the way that they're asking about that. Because if it is that a Jamaican citizen is enumerated in Jamaica, and when elections are called, they go back home and then they vote where they are enumerated and that they do reside and they meet the legal requirements, absolutely they can participate. So I think that that is certainly one of the areas that we hear often, because there's a lack of information around what that really means and what it requires. In terms of the policy engagement, in terms of the, I would say, because there are policies and then there are practices and there are people. And I think that both sides, and I'm going to call them both sides because we know that there are two major political parties in Jamaica that, speaking from the members that I have a chance to interact with every day in the diaspora, we are going to continue to ask for consistent and deeper engagement just around issues in general. So I would like to say that the government continues to do its duty or its role in talking to members of the diaspora, hearing the mission, certainly, and I can only speak about our missions in the United States. We have a very active ambassador as well as very hardworking consul generals and ambassador. And I think, however, I just want to punctuate that political participation and influence in policy, diaspora members serving on the public boards, diaspora members. So for example, Kwame, when I served, we had asked that diaspora members be given a role in the community councils at the parish government level, at local government. That is true engagement. When you talk about school boards, that school boards all across Jamaica, the most influential way in which you're able to participate is with your school. I'm a proud graduate of St. Catherine High School, as well as Wilmer's Girls. And so for diaspora members to be able to participate at that level locally, I think is still an area that we need to think about and we need to talk through so that we become not just funders or fundraisers, but also influencers in terms of policies and practices around governance and implementation.
All right, thank you.
And so I know that that's a long way to answer your question, but in terms of a grade, I could not issue in good conscience a letter grade around the engagement because it means so many different things to so many different members of the diaspora in terms of their areas of interest. Some of us want to vote, some of us want to serve on a board, some of us want to be consulted on the different policy issues.
All right, there you have it. Thank you very much for your contribution, Dr. Dunkley. So, gentlemen, we are hearing a wide list, a litany of issues, commendations, as well as criticisms. And so the question that we have to ask as we depart here, so that our viewers can, how can we be better? What can you do? Because when I look now, for example, back on the social media platforms, someone has asked, how is it that you plan to address the crime issue? And that has been a perennial issue. That has been a pain. So quickly, 30 seconds for both of you. How do you intend to? How can they try that? Peter Towns, and I'll allow you to go first, 30 seconds, and you say, how do you intend to?
Yeah, if we keep doing the same things, if we keep doing things the same way, we can't have a different result. We believe the whole issue of governance needs to change. We believe the opportunity to change the constitution in the upcoming referendum is an ample time to educate our people and for us to, as we shift from the British rule, from the monarchical system to a republic, we need to design a system that will create the best governance for the people, to give power back to the people so that the people can have a true say in the democracy of Jamaica.
All right.
So the Jamaica Labour Party that now forms the government, I believe listening to these issues and having them as a part of how we make the decision going forward, continuing doing that. You mentioned the point of crime, how the investment that have been made in crime and how you see the JCF now approaching certain crime. And I must publicly commend the JCF in how they're now approaching certain investigations. That wasn't the case then. So the investment that is being put in crime, I'm not talking about just financial investment, but you see where training are being done for the human resource of it. So how crime is being addressed on a holistic issue, I want the government not to relent, not to ease back where that is concerned, because it is going to, and not only the government, nation on a whole, everybody has to play its part. And I will encourage the government to continue doing what it's doing, try to find innovative ways to fight this crime monster. We have seen a number of reduction in these areas, and if we continue along that line, I think we'll reach somewhere.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Dr. Dunkley. There you have it. And we want to encourage those of you who have been able to join us on YouTube and all the other social media platforms to continue to watch this particular space, as well as on CEEN TV, where we will continue to keep you up to date as we lead up to the local government election. For Election Watch 2024 on CEEN TV, I am Kwame Thomas. Do have yourselves a wonderful rest of the evening.
Hey everyone, Emerald Lagasse here, and I'm so excited to tell you about my biggest air fryer yet.
Introducing Emerald Lagasse's Dual Zone Air Fryer Oven with dual-sided cooking chambers. Now you can cook 2 different foods 2 different ways that finish at the same time. Enjoy juicy grilled burgers at the same time as air-fried French fries. Broiled savory salmon at the same time as roasted asparagus. The secret is in the QuickSync technology that matches the cooking times and settings of each food, so they're programmed to finish at the same time. But watch, remove the center divider and it transforms into a large 25-quart capacity oven. Now you can try Emerald Lagasse's Dual Zone Air Fryer Oven with free recipe book in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. But wait, we'll automatically upgrade you to his deluxe cooking kit and 1-year VIP protection plan absolutely free, complete with everything you need to cook Monday to Sunday family-size meals. Plus, ask how you can get free shipping. This offer will not last, so order now.
You're gonna love it, I guarantee it.
If you missed coverage of Barbados Sailing Week 2024, catch the highlight show on Wednesday, February 7 on CEEN TV, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Caribbean Time, 6:30 in Jamaica.
I need some action. Tender satisfaction. My chemistry is flowing. Can you cause a chain reaction? I need some action. Tender satisfaction. My chemistry is flowing. Can you cause a chain reaction? Because I bet you when I say no, I can now. She wants to look back when